Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. It is Sunday night, which means it's time to flip on the old TV, tune into HBO or HBO Max for us people without cable, and dive into the what I think is the best show on television right now. What am I talking about? You should know, but if you don't, why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to take a watch and dive in spoiler-filled into Season 1, Episode 7 of HBO's The Last of Us, titled Left Behind, which of course is the same title as the DLC piece of the game that this episode is going to be interpreting. And last week left us on a doozy of a cliffhanger, and I wouldn't say I was joking around, but I did kind of posit, like, considering what the next episode is, like, it could be 2 weeks before some people find out the answer to what happens to Joel at the end of last week's episode. And that might be a little bit, like, that could have been a little misleading. The DLC does actually cover a piece of that stretch. Like, the game kind of hops, and the DLC kind of covers the patch that you miss of, like, where that happens to what comes next. And that gets weaved into this story with Riley, who Storm Reid will be playing. And I'm very, very excited about. But before we dive into things to look forward to this week, we got to talk about things that I missed last week. And I got to tell you, it didn't do too bad. I didn't have a ton of notes during editing. But one of the first things that, like, in rewatching the episode, one, I would nudge my adaptation score up to a 5. There was more things in there laced in throughout the episode. Some of, like, some talking points and things that came from the back end of the episode that I hadn't played right before watching. But like, they're just, as I was watching and, like, having replayed and editing everything, I was like, oh man, this episode is even more spot on than I thought it was. So I would, one, nudge my adaptation score to a 5. I'd still leave the episode at a 4.5. I think it's probably my third favorite episode of the season. But that could change. You know, I mean, like, it's one of those, like, it's right. Like that 3, 4, 5. It's all right in the same kind, like, because all these episodes are so damn good. But one of the things that really popped when I was editing, I love how Ellie at the beginning of the episode reminds Joel, like, when he's like, no, I'm gonna take both watches, you go to sleep. That's something that he would have done for Sarah, right? Like, make sure Sarah could get a full night's sleep. I'll stay up the whole time. Obviously, we know Joel's a little bit older. It's a lot harder for him to stay awake. He does fall asleep, and Ellie ends up taking second shift. And she kind of like, when he kind of starts to be like, "What are you doing? You can't do stuff like that." And she's like, "Well, I just did. Like, you taught me to do second watch." And it's kind of like pointing out that, like, instinctual father nature that Joel would have for his own daughter, and, like, no, I don't want you to have a gun. Like, and Sarah, we said early on, I don't think as a character is someone that you'd see survive in this world that we are in, where Ellie is someone who 100% can. So I kind of like that she checks Joel like that at the beginning, where it's like, you showed me how to do this, so don't be frustrated, because this is what you would do if your daughter was around. But, like, I'm not her. And obviously that's not the conversation, because Ellie doesn't find out that Joel has a daughter until later on in the episode, which I love the fact that they gave that conversation between her and Maria to us, and that they gave Maria a daughter, or a son. That definitely is not in the game anywhere, and that's a layer that I really liked, where, like, it connects kind of her and Joel on a different level. And, you know, that's something where, when you're dealing with that element of Joel and Tommy, you know, with her kind of being part of the family, I like that there's something like that ties those two together, and, you know, at least allows Maria to kind of understand Joel. But I love the fact that Ellie kind of, like, points out right at the top of the episode, like, you're the one that showed me how to do this. Like, you shouldn't be concerned. And then points out again at the end of the episode directly to him, when she knows, like, I'm not your daughter. You know, and Joel, obviously being caught off guard and angry, like, you know, does what Joel does, and kind of just like, you're right, you're not my daughter, and, you know, kind of storms out, and obviously sleeping on it rethinks things. But it's one of these kind of nice bookend moments where it's like, I think that's what Ellie would have said in that scenario, in the morning had she known that Joel had a daughter. So I kind of like that she like puts that out there, and then later on when she does know, is able to directly confront him like she does in the game. So I just thought that was a really nice piece of writing, something that Craig Mazin and that writer's room, like, they just continue to do episode after episode, where you just find these nice little ads that enhance things that are in the story. Obviously something that I didn't really dive a ton into, and I still won't dive a ton into, but freaking Dina, man. Like, sure enough, like we saw, you saw her pop up. Ellie was like, what are you looking at? In the dining hall, and immediately all my sensors went off. I was like, that looks like Dina. And I don't think I said it in the reaction, but then on the backside, like, the fact that could be Dina. And from everything I saw, that is indeed Dina, although she's not credited that way to Paulina Hernandez Van Cleef, who's playing her. But that's something to get excited about come season 2, probably. It's one of these things where, again, last week I kind of had this mind meld moment where that stretch of the game takes place at the Electro Power Plant. So being in the town, I kind of forgot, like, oh yeah, that's right, Jackson is the town that they're in the second game. So kind of already starting to see them layer some things in there for fans of the game, that will be involved in stories and elements of season 2, whether they adapt part 2 of the game, or they do, some of the story that's in between that 7 years. Whatever it's going to involve, Jackson will certainly be front and center there, for Ellie. But that was like you're just sitting there, and as a gamer, I'm like, oh my god, like, could you imagine, like, and that's one of those cool, like, rethinking, like, if they hadn't left from the power plant and then gone to the random house that Ellie runs away to and then take off, like, had they gone back to Jackson, they're right outside it. Tommy is the one that mentions, like, the kids will be watching movies tonight, kind of taking that aspect and going, what if they went to the town instead and spent a night or a day there? All of a sudden you can incorporate all these things that would be coming in from part 2, and it's something that would make Ellie want to go back there. And Joel, right? Like Joel says, like, we're gonna need that, little brother, right? Like he wants to go get this vaccine thing figured out, and then, the plan before the end of last week's episode, I think, for Joel and Ellie would be to come back to Jackson. And had they spent a night there, I think that's something that would be a driving motivation, for Ellie. And I kind of like that you kind of layer that in. It doesn't really change the episode anymore, but it gives a lot more depth, because you get to experience, oh man, like, if we get this vaccine thing going and we can come back here, we got a place to live, the world will be better, things are gonna start looking up. But Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, quick to remind us, things don't ever look up too brightly in this world. But I love that they dropped Dina in the background like that. Like that was awesome. And I hopefully, we get to see Paulina Hernandez Van Cleef get to play the character, next season. One of the other things that did pop out for me that I thought would have been interesting and could be something, that maybe comes back around at a different point in time, but one of the things that I love in Joel and Tommy's conversation in the game, while I hate that the two conversations they have in the episode are kind of one thing, Tommy gives Joel, he's like, I went back to Texas and found this, and he gives him a picture of him and Sarah. Joel turns it down, and then later on you find out Ellie snagged it, and she gives it to Joel at the end of the game. So it was I was a little surprised that wasn't involved, like it wasn't placed in there. But again, not something that's a complete, end all be all thing. But that was one of those moments where it's like, that's a nice little tag toward the end for Ellie that kind of was missing in that. The tee up for that, at least, was missing in the episode. I guess you could theoretically still see something like that, assuming Joel survives. Well, we don't know. But the counter, I guess you could say, to that is a scene that I love that they put in the game, or put in the show, that's not in the game, that I didn't really talk too much about. But that was, of course, Joel seeing Sarah, or in his head seeing Sarah, right? Like someone who from behind, because of the big curly hair and her stature, probably about what her age would be, like kind of gives Joel a glimpse into what the future could have been. And it's one of those like double-edged swords for that character, where it's like you could have that second shot at maybe getting to see, your daughter get to that age and have a kid, and a life after all these things. If you come back here, right? It's one of those things where I like being in the town, because that moment for Joel kind of gives you a, if all of this works out, I bring Ellie back here, maybe I could get that. While it could also be something that absolutely terrifies him. I think that internal struggle of wanting to think things like that, and wanting to not think things like that and open himself up, is what is creating some of these mini panic attacks that he's having. But it's just one of these kind of cool dichotomy things, where coming off of an episode that involved mirroring our characters, to give kind of that piece where it's like you don't get the picture, but you do get this kind of cool thing where he, missees a different person, and for a moment, is kind of able to be like, oh, like that could have been what it was. And maybe deep down, that's if I'm able to redeem my sins with this vaccine thing, maybe that's the second shot that I can get with Ellie. And it's one of those things where you can kind of see where that conflict inside of him, and just the general fear, because he knows he can't protect her as well as he could in the past. One of the other things I absolutely love that they kind of dive into this episode is the game really makes Joel seem invincible. Until you get to the end of last week's episode, where, like I said, in the game, he ends up on like a ribbed piece of metal. But where outside of that moment, Joel's like an indestructible, aggressive force, and we've kind of seen that dwindling in him, and that really is a nice driving motivation for him to want to give Ellie to Tommy, not because he wants to be done with the girl, but he knows Tommy will get her there safe. And I think you just have him wrestling with all that stuff and having it physically manifest in him. It's the thing where after that conversation with Ellie, where she's like, I would be more scared. Like, I'd rather stick it out with you because you're the only person that hasn't left yet. That's one of those things where everything he's wrestling with kind of comes to that head, and he makes that decision at the end, and allows Tommy to stay. And I like that they ended up sticking to it. IMDb lied to me, saying that Diego Luna was gonna be in, I think it was listed like 4 or 5 episodes. It changed it to the 2 or 3. I might say 3 now. I'm not even gonna trust that. Although I could very much see Tommy showing back up at the end of the season. But I like that he ends up staying and not putting himself at risk, because this last stretch is really a stretch where, had Tommy been there last week, the stuff that's coming up for Ellie isn't really possible unless both of them somehow get hurt, right? And it's one of these, like, Ellie needs this stretch of story. And that brings us to this week, which I'm super excited about. And kind of like I said before, I may have been like not entirely forthcoming last week in saying that we might not see Joel and what happens to him until next week. This piece of the DLC takes place, like I said, in between the end of what last week's episode was and where the next piece of the game starts. There's a few weeks jump, and they kind of tie that together with this little backstory piece of storytelling for Ellie. She's referenced that she's lost people, and that she's done really tough things. Like killing someone isn't the first time, or shooting someone's not the first time she's had to do those types of things. And this is one of the stories that kind of give you a little bit of that back knowledge of things that have happened to Ellie. And it's one of these cool things where, as a piece of DLC, downloadable content, that usually is something that gets released afterwards. It's about an hour, 90 minutes of gameplay. When you're playing on hard, it's a really tough stretch of gameplay. A lot of hunters and zombies coincide in there. But it's a piece of storytelling that bounces back and forth between that gap in time that we are missing in the game and what happens immediately following Joel falling off that horse, and this backstory with Ellie and this girl Riley, who we don't really know too much about until you get into the episode, or not the episode, but I guess it's a chapter in the game. But you dive in obviously into that full story and kind of get beats from it throughout. And obviously, I would hope you guys have watched the episode, but the things that I'm looking forward to this week is one, how they play with that. Like, I could very much see this episode doing it exactly how the game is, where we kind of see the fallout of last week first, and the next place that Ellie will get to will be a mall, and that'll kind of bring memories back of Riley. So I could kind of see them playing it how it is in the game, where Ellie gets to a place and it brings back a memory, and we jump back, and then we come back to the present because things start going on, and another thing that can trigger a memory. The other thing I could see is completely not doing that and keeping it two separate stories, maybe bookending it, right? Like, I could see them telling a piece, not leave us hanging for 2 weeks, give us our answers right at the top, dive into that backstory, and then kind of give us the tee up for next week on the back end. Or I can see it being, all backstory from jump, just kind of diving into that and then kind of weeding that out into the tee up for next week and what happens. But I do think we'll find out the outcome for Joel this week, as it is something that is layered into the game. It was just kind of fun for me, specifically messing with my parents, telling them like they might have to wait 2 weeks. My mom was like, "Corey, please tell me that's not true." I'm like, I don't know. Depends how they could just do the Riley and Ellie story and wait till next week to dive into what happens to Joel. But I do honestly genuinely think that we'll see that in some way, but I'll be interested to see how they play with that mapping inside of the story. Other things that I look forward to when it comes to that stretch of gameplay, like I said, Ellie should end up at a mall, and she's searching for very specific things. So I very much look forward to kind of seeing. I hope we get to see some of that. It could kind of be a bit of a thrilling moment if they do go a route that involves a helicopter. That would be fun, and it'd be interesting to see if they throw zombies and hunters at her. See how she handles some of these things on her own. The Riley end of the story, obviously, we know the game or the show's not going to shy away from it. So we're going to get to dive into that relationship, because that is, I believe, Ellie's kind of first romantic relationship of any kind. And her and Riley's relationship is really, really at a kind of fractured point where we jump back. I think we're going to get to see a little bit before Riley leaves, but Riley basically is in FEDRA school with Ellie. They clearly have some kind of bond and relationship. She leaves, kind of breaks up with Ellie, and like just one fight and is gone. And then like weeks later, which is where the DLC opens, Riley comes back by scaring the living shit out of Ellie, acting like she's a zombie. I really hope that's how the introduction is made, and I hope they stick to most of that story pretty accurately to the game. Although I could definitely see some enhancements, but that's one thing, because like I said, the mall in real time is what kind of reminds her of this stretch of story. 90% of it takes place in a mall, back in Boston. So inside the mall, I want to see some water gun games. I want to see some masks. I want to see a photo booth, which I think we've already seen in the trailers. And obviously, I want to see how Ellie gets bit. That's what this story is. And I'll be very interested to see if they play it all the way to the conclusion and show you everything, or if they stop where the game stops. The game stops kind of when Ellie and Riley make a decision, and you don't get to see the outcome of that decision, although it's alluded to, obviously, many times, or a couple times throughout the game. One of the other things, like I said, and why I think we're going to get the present time pieces of story somewhere in here, is when Ellie is looking for stuff, she has to go into a locked room, and the room that's locked is because there was a zombie that got in there. So one of the shots we saw in the trailer last week was like a zombie in a wall. That should be present time. That shouldn't be Riley and Ellie, although it could be. Like, it could be either or. But that kind of shot was the one thing I was like, I think they might do some of that storytelling. And the other thing is, I'd like to see some sort of reference. I believe his name is Warren. There's much like Ish. There's a character who runs a stretch inside of this mall in Colorado, where Ellie finds pieces of that story and what happens. to him. So I'd like to see how that goes, because Warren is someone who went to FEDRA school with Ellie, someone Ellie knows. So some reference to him would be really cool. So yeah, those are the things that I'm looking forward to. Like I said, this is a big piece of storytelling specifically for Ellie. This is going to be a very Ellie-centric episode, and it's gonna do, I would assume, a lot for her character in as far as like the way last week ended. And I was talking, or before it ends, talking about how like you finally solidified these two as a real duo. When it comes to how you survive in this world, I think Joel is a little advanced on Ellie, and this is an episode that should bring Ellie up to a spot where you understand she's a lot more like Joel than we really know. And those are the things I'm so looking forward to. So let's not waste any more time. Now let's get the episode up. There it is, and let's dive in to The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 7, Left Behind. And obviously we know we're going to get some kind of a commercial.
This
one
city
is
has suffered a devastating loss.
It's the murder trial of the century.
I don't think they did it.
Oh, that guy is from The Americans. Who, by the way, I saw Cocaine Bear last week. He plays the guy who's flying the plane at the opening of the movie, and it's totally a cameo appearance because that person dies in real life. Perry Mason coming back. My mom and dad, I need to watch that. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, Kerry Russell got him this. Which was, it was just like a moment for me in that movie where I was like, oh man, that's like, he definitely got that gig because Kerry Russell was one of the main casted people. Jackson. Let's take a look at last week. This is, so like I said last week, was Pedro's Emmy nomination episode, right? Like when he gets nominated and when they do the awards, the clip that they're gonna show is gonna be that conversation, most likely in the workshop when he's working on the boots. This week should probably involve the moment, unless they chose that moment where she yells at Joel. But this should be the Ellie episode, right? Where like I think Bella's Emmy nomination moment is gonna come out of this episode. Oh man, that was the other thing, that this went on a little bit longer, but same camera shots, the whole nine, like just spot on. But it was one where we again stayed longer here in the show. Something I love that Druckmann and Mazin have been doing from jump is staying in moments in the show longer than you do in the game. Time you get to these moments and like Henry, you hear the gunshot go off, black. Joel crashes on the ground. Ellie runs over him, is like, Joel, wake up, Joel, I need you. And it cuts to black and she kind of fades out. In both scenarios, you end up staying on Ellie longer, and it makes the impact, right? Like, it's one of those where I think you can rationalize being an adult, how that impacts an adult. And you can kind of just sync up more with Joel in the moment. And then last week's episode kind of allows you to dissect a little bit of what he's feeling there. But visually showing what's going through out, like both times when Sam gets shot, when Henry shoots himself, the look in Bella's face just elicits so much. And same thing last week, like Joel, the fear, that was a big piece of last week is fear. The fear in Ellie's face at the end of last week is terrifying. Let's see what happens. We're gonna jump right to back, or are we gonna? Alright, so it's snowy, so we're gonna find out what happens to Joel. We're gonna be written for television by Neil Druckmann. That's a lot of blood. So we're gonna go with maybe they won't get to a mall. So this is where we jump to in the game. Ellie's gotten Joel to this house, and she tied him up and dragged him on the horse, which is something you see at the end of the DLC. So I thought they might lead with that.
Fuck.
Joel, much more conscious for this piece than he was in the game.
Leave.
Oh God. Leave.
Shut up, Joel.
Yeah.
Take the gun.
Joel, shut the fuck up!
Go north. Go to town. Go.
that's something that doesn't happen in the game. Joel's pretty much unconscious when she's fixing him up. Off she goes. But yeah, the DLC, you see, she straps him up to a horse and then drags him into a mall. And that helicopter sequence is where she finds stuff to stitch him up. And she references that she's done that before. And then that piece, the next thing that she's got to look for is... So clearly they're not going to do that bit of Joel's story from the game. Because we're jumping back into FEDRA now. I love that she's got the headphones on. Tape cassette is something that'll be important later. But like I said in the game, they jump right to there, where she's got him there, and then she's got to go out and try to find medicine. I think first she goes looking for...
Give him back! Then pick up your pace. I'm not running doubles again because of your shitty attitude.
I don't want to fight about it.
Fight about it? You don't fight. Friend fights. She's not here anymore.
Alright, so Riley's already gone. Oh, man. So Ellie's got a black eye. Alright, so I don't believe she has a black eye in the game during that stretch. But maybe she does. I don't think so. But yeah, while out hunting, then the next thing would be trying to find medicine because that's gonna get infected. Captain Kwong. He looks pissed.
What's going on? You've never been what I call well-behaved, but the last few weeks.
Bethany started it.
Well, Bethany's in the infirmary with 15 stitches.
Good.
I put you in the hole 3 times. It doesn't work. So I'm gonna try something new.
What?
I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Ooh.
2 paths ahead of you. First path, you keep acting like a grunt so you get the life of a grunt. You eat shit food, you do shit jobs, you take shit orders from your patrol leader, who'll probably be Bethany.
That would suck.
Catch a bullet from a firefly, or fall drunk off a roof, or get your hair cut in a moving tank tread.
Ha.
There's the other path. You swallow this pride of yours. You follow the rules, you become an officer. You get your own room, you get a nice bed. We eat well, we don't go on patrol. And best of all, when you're an officer, you get to tell the Bethanys of the world exactly where to shove it.
Ooh. I like how this guy is trying to appeal to Ellie.
Why do you even care?
Good question.
I care because no matter what anyone out there says or thinks, we're the only thing holding this all together.
I like this Captain Kwong.
There's a leader in you, and one day it could be your turn. So which way?
Keys.
Yeah. Smart girl.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. One of the other things, too.
My Walkman back.
Come on, Kwong. You know I like... Yeah, I knew I liked you. Classic Kwong. One of the other things, too, from last week that I didn't mention, the haircut sequence with Maria. I like that because Ellie's like, so don't cut my hair. When we get to whenever the part 2 storytelling takes place, Ellie does get a much more shortened cut. Savage Starlight. Love everywhere that can pop up. That's got to be one of the other covers, too, that we find. I'll have to look up to see which one that is. But yeah, that was one of those, like, kind of cool to have that haircut moment and have her kind of be reactive to it, knowing that she's going to end up with short hair eventually. Little things, man. Little things about the show that I just love. Man, it really makes you feel the absence of her presence. Time to go to sleep, Ellie. And now Riley should hopefully sneak in and act like she's gonna bite her like a zombie. Cool, nice. We do it. I love how you do those cuts. Like when they fall asleep, cut to the next thing that's gonna happen. 1:53 a.m. Mortal Kombat 2. And getting rid of the fake game from the game that they use. Yes, here we go. She's been gone for weeks, I think. Did not go zombie route, which would have been more fun. I'm so excited for Storm Reid, though. I love her.
Sneaking up on me like that. It was a joke, okay? I thought it would work better. In my mind, you loved it. So, how's it going?
Such a smart casting.
Okay, it's bad. I thought you were dead. You've been gone for 3 weeks. I should fucking stab you.
No, I appreciate your mercy.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just ran away for a bit, that's all.
If you're going through some shit, you're supposed to, I don't know, talk to your best friend about it.
I came back.
Wait, who gave you the black eye?
Tell me where you were. Give me a name and I'll fuck them up.
Where were you?
She out there being a firefly, yo. Show her the medallion.
I joined the Fireflies.
Oh, fuck you. I'm not in the mood for this, Riley. I'm really not in the mood.
Gun.
You're a firefly?
Jesus. Told you I'd fucking do it.
Talking about liberating the QZ is not the same as... Fuck, where did you even...
Slow down, slow down. I will tell you everything. First, you have to promise me something sort of crazy, and you're gonna say no, but then you have to say yes. Come with me for a few hours and have the best night of your life.
No.
Okay, now say yes.
I'm not going anywhere with you. It's great. It's 2 a.m. and in a few hours I have drills where we learn to kill fireflies.
Yep, and net.
Get dressed.
So well done. I tell you, that conversation with Kwang, though, becomes an even better ad when you think about, like, her hesitation. Like, I don't have any more strikes. I gotta switch up, you know what I mean? And she didn't push back too hard. The other thing, too, that's kind of hard to tell in the game is if they've had any kind of romantic actions prior. And it seems like here they're going with the best friend route, which will make the kiss we should eventually see hit a lot harder. Which is kind of how it feels when you play through the game the first time. Going back knowing that and replaying it, there are stretches where, like, you could think maybe they make some references. But I think one of the things that would also make it harder for Ellie with Riley leaving is having unresolved feelings and never getting the chance to kind of express those.
Not that fucking stupid, are they?
Okay, rocky start. Given a 7-Eleven situation.
No, thanks.
7-Eleven
I'd like to keep my
situation.
other eyebrow in one piece.
That's where the scar came from.
Maybe you should stop fucking with Bethany.
What's that about?
Nothing stupid.
Maybe you shouldn't mess with people like that.
I'm sorry, are you telling me not to beat people up? You put Carol in the infirmary for a fucking week. Where are we going?
Through a damn window.
I'm probably going to say it about 20 times, but I'm so glad they cast Storm Reid to play Riley. She's, I think, very talented, but should be, I mean, already is. The vibe between both of them is so spot on.
Oh, firefly lights are better.
Yep.
1 point for the anarchist.
Something that you do in the game. Every once in a while, your light will just go out and you have to, like, smack it on.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Is this the big surprise?
No. This guy wasn't here yesterday.
Uh-oh. This is not in the game. That guy is dead.
Is that real?
Bottle's real. This isn't moonshine either. It's like from before.
No one told him he couldn't mix pills with that shit?
I think he knew what he was doing.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
You're sick, right?
Also coming up, this is in the game. You have the decision to say yes or no. I would assume that Ellie will say yes here based on the reaction she has with Joel, where she's like, "Yep, still tastes like shit."
Okay.
Handled that much better than she did in the game. Spit it right out in the game.
Is that the first dead body you ever saw?
No. My parents.
Yeah, sorry. I know. I mean, I knew that.
No, it's fine.
Can I hold your gun?
They kind of made me swear not to let other people handle my sidearm.
Not to handle my sidearm. It's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Bottle.
So what happened? You started dating some Firefly dude and was like, it's cool. I think I'll be a terrorist.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, another thing. I hope we get to see the pun book come out. It's where Ellie gets it.
I got bored, so I snuck out. I was on my way back, being stealthy like I am, and this chick popped out of nowhere.
Marlene.
Like our age?
No, like 40 or
Marlene.
50.
Not Marlene.
She said she was impressed watching me sneak around.
Marlene. Kids misunderstanding age.
She's like, all right, if you want in, you're in.
No weird initiations?
Nope.
They both are aware of Marlene in the game, which is interesting. Because in the game, Ellie asks her if she could just join. And she's like, I already asked Marlene that. It's the first thing Marlene said no to, because Marlene obviously promised Ellie's mom to put her in FEDRA school. Something Marlene was very adamant about. It was fun. Little building hopping. We need a big gap. I feel like they're still nowhere near the mall.
We're here.
Are we?
The mall?
There it is.
You out of your fucking mind? They sealed that place off for a reason. It's full of infected.
If it's sealed off, then why isn't it sealed off?
Her Firefly friends giving her some inside info about the mall. Probably, I believe we're about to find out that electricity still exists. They just flipped all the circuit breakers.
Yeah, it's been exposed for a few years. So, turns out when FEDRA connected that block up to the grid, this place got connected too. Not that they know.
All right, a little bit of a different, but that almost makes more sense than how it is in the game. So I like that they reference electrocution and water. And this kind of area looks similar to an area in the mall in present time, and there's a lot of water that ends up electrocuting a bunch of infected that are about to run in on Ellie. So I feel like some of that in there was a reference to that. Ooh, Ellie going solo to flip the lights on.
I'm here. Now what?
Oh, yeah.
Ken with the flashlight. Oh, that's even cooler. That's cool. Make her stand in for all the lights coming on. That's friggin' awesome. Huh.
So, what do you think?
It's fucking... Wait, the lights.
We're fine.
That one's...
It's like a big bunker. No one can see shit but us. Just me and you.
Lights outside don't work.
Tonight I'm gonna show you the 4 wonders of the mall.
Ooh,
You
4
planned
wonders.
stuff?
I need masks. I need a water gun fight. I need a dance sequence. Oh, yes.
No way.
Escalator.
Electric stairs?
Escalator.
Escalator?
And I need a merry-go-round. Oh, and also the photo booth. All right, there's more than 4 options of things to do in this mall.
Check me out, man. This is so cool.
What's funny is
Backwards.
I did that in the game. It's just like, she's never been on it, so run up it.
I'm not moving. So this is the first wonder, right?
Yeah,
No.
sure. There can be 5 wonders.
Oh, it's great.
I'm coming for you. Oh, shit. Ellie.
Oh,
I can't. I could attempt to go that high. But
graceful
it would be
ballerina,
bad.
but chop, chop. We're on a schedule.
This is so much fun. And again, like I said, the chemistry already between the two. Dawn of the Wolf Part 2! A movie that's... See those pop up in random places all throughout the game. It's the one that Joel referenced early on in the season.
Time is of the essence.
Yeah, the chemistry between these two is fantastic.
Why are some of these stores empty and some not?
My mom said when the outbreak happened, people started looting until the military shut it down. The stuff that's gone is the stuff that people needed the most, or wanted, I guess.
Right, so sneakers
Steve.
and not soap.
Not so.
I mean, I don't get why
Victoria's
people back
Secrets.
then wanted all this stuff.
Do you need me to explain it to you?
Haha, no. Just looks uncomfortable.
Yep.
Love that.
What?
Nothing. I was just trying to imagine you wearing that. Come on. We're almost there.
Oh man, as a kid, I'd sing up on it, man. You'd see that stuff. Honestly, you're like, even sometimes now, I'm like, why would anybody?
Ellie.
I'm on my way.
Ellie trying to make herself look good. Ellie loves Riley.
Step right here.
First wonder.
Close your eyes.
What for?
Close. Do you trust me?
With my life, apparently.
Oh, well then give me your hand.
I have a feeling we're not gonna get it, but a game that they play in the game is throwing bricks through windows in 2 cars, like giveaway cars that are there. First one to break all the windows wins.
Almost. I said almost.
Come on, give me the Halloween shop
Okay. Open your eyes.
or the arcade or the merry-go-round. Yeah, there. Okay, merry-go-round.
Shit. What? No way.
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So Riley doesn't get on the first rotation in the game, and she hops on for the second rotation, which only goes about halfway and then stops. So I like that she hopped on right away. Truly is gonna be Ellie's best night. Morning, not so much. Now, let's see. I have a feeling it should break down right about... No, I gotta let it roll.
What?
Nothing.
You're drunk.
No.
Yeah.
You're drunk.
Give me.
Sally was patting the horse like it was real. I like that. Ellie's affinities for horses, space, and comic books are 3 things that I absolutely love about her character.
Yeah.
Huh? Lights are flickering. Or not. Again, though, it's one of the things I love about the show is when you get to moments that are cut short, like the staying, living in the moment. Having it go around 1.5 times makes sense in the game because you want to keep things moving. But, like, you just... Oh, there goes the breakdown.
Oh, come on.
But you can see a little bit of the wonder, right? So many things that don't make sense about the old world to them. I love getting to see moments like
Did you
this.
really leave because you actually think you could liberate this place?
Don't say it like it's some type of fantasy. They've done it in the other QZs.
Yeah, we could do that too. If you come back, I mean, we're like the future. We could make things better.
Again, Dr. Kwan, or Captain Kwan.
I turn 17 next month. That's when you get your assignment. You know what Kwan gave me? Sewage detail. Standing guard while people shovel shit. That's what they think of me.
Why didn't you tell me any of this?
I don't know. I panicked and I ran. And the longer I was away, the harder it was for me to come back. Is that making sense?
Well, I get it.
Hey,
I would have gotten it back then too,
You're the one thing I miss from that fucking place.
One thing that can make her not leave. Hey, you know what, though? Time to flip up the mood. Break out the jokes. Come on, Riley.
We're 2 wonders down. 3 more to go. If
2 wonders down.
I mean, I want a magic horse with like 1,000,000 lights. I don't know how it's supposed to get better.
The photo booth.
Is that a time machine?
come on.
Yep, photo booth. I wonder if it'll break and not print the pictures the way it does. Oh, dude, spot on.
Oh, fuck you.
Well, look at that. I came prepared.
Whoa.
No, idiot, I was waiting to do it with you.
Does not ask for money in the game. Just let you do it. Almost like someone left money in there.
Let's go, bunny.
Oh, shit.
What should we do?
Okay. Bunny ears? Wait. Back to back?
Yeah.
Back to back.
Just carry. Okay. Okay, yeah.
That is one of the poses that there's like, I think one pose that they do and then 2 alternate ones that you could choose from. Oh, nice! It did pick shit.
Go.
It breaks. It allows you to share to Facebook and then tells you that there's no.
That one's not bad.
Yes, the scary one worked the best.
It's yours.
Nice. It's kind of something I wish they would have done in the game. Was let it print out.
We got places to be, wonders to see.
Right. What do we got? 2 more wonders.
4th wonder of them all, and I hope you're prepared because it's pretty dang awesome and it might break you. Don't oversell, man.
Halloween store.
Listen.
Or the arcade. Oh, this is... There is a moment that I really hope that they recreate, even though all the lights and everything seem to be working in there.
This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
But the Angel Knives game doesn't work, so Riley tells Ellie to close her eyes and tells her the things that would happen if it did work. So I'm wondering if maybe the Mortal Kombat game just works.
This is an emergency broadcast. The Earth is being invaded.
I'm assuming that it would be Attack from Mars. I'm assuming that it would be Mortal Kombat. Daytona, USA. Huh.
Do you have any money?
Huh.
Useless shit. Coins. You can't even play once.
Oh. All the coins. Riley did her homework.
Yeah, I'm the same asshole that spent an hour yesterday breaking this fucker open.
So that maybe they will just get to play the game. It's such a wonderful moment, though, like listening to Riley tell her how Mortal Kombat would work.
Dude. Yeah. Oh. You ready?
Yeah.
Could be more fun to actually get to see Ellie play it, though.
Oh my god. Reading. Fuck yeah. Arena. Woohoo. Deadpool. Oh wait, how do I play? Smash the buttons.
Just smash the button.
Boom. Ow! Use the joystick more. Okay.
Use the joystick more. Just
That is such horseshit.
Horseshit. You ready?
No,
Round 2. Fight.
joystick.
Oh.
How am I doing that? Finish him! Do not finish
Oh.
me. But then you wouldn't get to see this.
Oh.
Okay, that was pretty cool.
That was fun.
How many times have you played this?
I mean, I've been here a few times.
So you don't wait to do everything with me.
Cheater. I do love the game version of that moment so much better, though. Never plays it, and then you gotta hit the buttons that she tells you to. But this is a great little nod to their competitions. They have, I think, 2 different competitions. You got the brick throwing. Oh man, we gotta see the zombies already. But you get the brick throwing, then you get the water gun fight. The competition's between them, and anytime one of them loses, they just want to get right back into it. Oh man, the doll store. The doll store in the game is in Colorado in present time, and that's where this guy is. That's why they duped me. This is why I thought we were gonna get the present time mall in Colorado as well as the one in Boston. But that's a great nod to the Colorado moment, and it is in a doll place.
Beating my ass. Jesus! Back forward, down forward, low punch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, come on. Next thing.
All right, so I think the last, so we're not gonna get the, I don't think we're gonna get masks. So there's a Halloween store and there's like 4 different masks you can wear. It's a wolf. Riley wants you to be a wolf.
I have to wake up and make my bed soon.
It's true.
We still have a few hours left, though.
Yeah, I just can't get in trouble again. But I'll be here tomorrow.
This is where we find out she's getting sent away.
I got you a gift.
Well, maybe not. Water guns.
I do like gifts. Is it a spider? Nope. Is it in your shirt? Nope. Is it a water pistol?
Nah.
Better.
Better.
Oh, better than a water pistol.
I'll be your best friend again if it's a dinosaur. Oh,
But it's, yeah, it's, then there's a Frankenstein one, there's a witch one, I think there's a clown one.
wait. Is it tacos?
That store is in the mall, though.
Not tacos.
It's one of the ones that you can hop over. Man, they do such a good job. What is going on now?
Is this where you've been staying?
Mostly. Ta-da!
No pun intended, volume 2, yes! Should have come right after the carousel, but yes, more jokes.
What did the frustrated cannibal do?
Lay it on me.
He threw up his hands.
Because he ate his hands. Get it? That's one of the ones from this stretch.
What did the triangle say to the circle?
Yep. I think that's the first one Riley
You're
says.
so pointless. How does a computer get drunk? It takes screenshots.
What are screenshots?
I don't actually know.
Oh, I love the joke book.
Oh, here we go. What do you call an alligator in a vest?
Investigator? An investigator? Oh, bombs.
Did you make these?
Not something that happens in the game.
Yes, Ellie, put it down.
To kill soldiers? You didn't find this mall, did you? They posted you here. You recruit guarding their stash?
We would never use them on you or anywhere ever near you. I would never let them do that.
You would never let them?
Yeah.
And you think they're gonna listen to you?
Yeah, another
I mean, I
phenomenal,
guess we'll find out.
another phenomenal addition that elevates the overall story.
Ellie? Ellie,
None of this shit was even about me.
would you stop?
Fuck you.
Ellie, I'm leaving.
Something that makes their fight hit harder.
They're sending me to a post in the Atlantic QC.
Leave tomorrow.
Just if you could join, so we could go together. But Marlene said no.
Who the fuck is Marlene?
Marlene is the lady that helped me get. It doesn't matter.
Told you. Ellie knows who Marlene is, though.
Ellie, I tried. Tonight's my last night in Boston.
That's a good punch.
Why did you bring me here?
Because I wanted to see you.
And?
And I wanted to say goodbye.
Not what Ellie is looking for.
This isn't easy, Ellie.
It actually is. You just did it.
Damn.
Goodbye.
Well, that hits a lot harder than the game does. Damn, Riley let her get real far. Like, I wonder if we're gonna get. So I thought the last wonder would have been the radio shop. The reason you have the Walkman, but we're gonna get right into the zombies. Shit.
Riley!
Oh! Oh no, we are gonna get the Halloween store. Oh yes. Oh, okay, so the Halloween store is the last wonder. I still thought the radio.
I
Oh.
thought you'd like this one the best, so I saved it for last. I guess I was stupid.
I think it's the second spot in the game.
Give me the book.
Time to lighten the mood. She's taking the book. I guess that was supposed to be her gift, right?
So you leave me, I think you're dead. All of a sudden you're alive, and you give me this night. It's an amazing fucking night, and now you're leaving again forever.
I like that they're adding this.
I don't even think you understand.
I think that you don't know everything. You don't know what it was like to have a family. I mean, I didn't have them for long, but I had them. I belonged to them, and I want that again. Maybe the Fireflies aren't what I think they are, but they chose me. I mattered to them.
You mattered to me first. God damn it, I want to punch you so bad.
If it makes you hate me less.
Don't hate you. I love you.
Sure about this? About leaving?
Not the best of writers, always.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying it all pissy and shit. You're my best friend. And I'll miss you.
Well, Nate's not over yet.
One last thing. Still got that Walkman. Consolidated stores. Ah, yes, the wolf mask.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Roar.
And this music sucks.
You little thief.
Definitely. Probably.
And the clown mask. Nice. Yes, put it on. Time to boogie down. I like, again, the way that they're able to merge moments, man. Like, you don't need two stores to do the dance and the masks. That makes the dance so much funnier. I also think it should make the other moment that much stronger. I love this. This is fantastic. Same song that they play, though. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Boom. Yeah, that was great. I got you, babe. Dude, the masks make the scene so much better. Take the mask off, Ellie. Here it comes.
What?
Don't go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
For what?
What do we do now?
We're gonna figure it out.
Fuck. Shit's gonna suck.
Get ready to run.
Oh man. I genuinely think that they're gonna take this all the way to the end. You know, we were talking about how, like, staying longer. Oh god! Oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh god. Good, good. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh! Shh. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh, in the head. Riley's got it on the hand. They gonna play this what they do in the game where you don't see either bite?
Holy shit!
Ellie, your arm. thought they might actually show it, being that we know. This is gonna bring it, but she's gonna do the same thing she did the last bite. Wipe. No. Trying to wipe it off.
No!
Oh, maybe they're not gonna. Wonder if they end with that conversation. Ellie hadn't tried raiding the house yet. Yeah, it's just like the game.
There's more stuff over there you can break.
What are you gonna do?
Ooh, this combo.
The way I see it, we got two options. One, we take the easy way out. It's quick, painless.
One of them's got to kill the other.
No, I don't like option one.
They don't. That's how they do it in the game too. But that's the reality.
Option two, we just keep going.
I guess they could both commit suicide.
What are you talking about, Riley? It's over.
It will be, but not yet. It ends this way for everyone sooner or later, right? Some of us just get there faster than others.
Damn.
But we don't quit.
Don't quit.
Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up. I don't want to give that up.
That's like the most important piece of Ellie.
We could just be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together.
What's option 3?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Dude, man, Storm Reid is crushing this. As is Bella, but Bella's been doing that from jump. Ellie's poetic moment never comes. But it's that conversation that gives her that drive, right? Like, just however long you survive it, this is as long as you gotta take it, you know? You don't give up. Joel telling her to run. Not gonna do that. That's why. At this again. Joel unconscious for this in the game. These close-ups on Bella are so good. Oh wow. I did just like the game. I thought they might end the episode like I don't like seeing that moment, like the amount that they've beaten us over the head. I didn't necessarily need it, I'm fine that they opted not to, but there was a part of me that thought that you might see Riley change and Ellie kill her. Because it seems to be like we're seeing Ellie in all those moments. But I think it works just as strongly, right? Like, you see the way that she's reacted to some of the other stuff, and now you know, like, she doesn't turn. So I wonder if they're not showing that piece. I guess I just spoiled it for some. I mean, y'all should have been able to put that together. But that's an important, like, conversational piece for her and Joel later. Whew, that was a baller episode, man. Next week,
You won't survive for long out there.
gonna be a bloody
There's
episode.
room for you in our group if you want.
Oh, Troy Baker! Oh wow, that place looks just like.
She's just another mouth to feed.
If we leave her out here, she'll die.
Maybe that's God's will.
Telling you, these 2 episodes gonna be so defining for Ellie.
Let me protect you.
Ooh, they're doing everything to a T. Oh man, next week is gonna be intense. All right, now tell me about this week, Mason and Druckmann.
At the end of episode 6, Joel appears to be dead.
Dead. Yeah.
And we return to find him with Ellie. He is in terrible shape.
Not good.
In fact, is telling her to leave him because he's not going to make it.
Yep.
Ellie has to make that decision. In the moment she hesitates, we are brought back in time
Yep.
to an Ellie we have not met.
Yep. Ah, so genius, man. And it's like the decision for her to go back makes so, like we were saying, you know.
Before you get thrust on this crazy journey or find out you're immune to the cordyceps, you're just a kid that feels like she doesn't belong. No connection with anybody else, except for this one girl
Riley.
that left her and she thought was dead because she was gone for so long.
If you're going through some shit, you're supposed to talk to your best friend about it.
Yeah. Right?
Riley is Ellie's only friend, really, but she also has a crush on her. Very real and pure and fun. They have a really interesting dynamic, and I loved working with Storm.
Yeah. I bet.
We had to find somebody that was able to not only be on Bella's level in terms of,
Acting chops. Yep.
but also somebody that we think would have the upper hand on Ellie.
Storm Reid was perfect.
Tell me when you're there. Go.
This is Riley's one last chance to show her love and appreciation.
Yep.
I'm here. Now what?
So cool. Like, I think you've never seen them all.
What is it like to skip school in the post-apocalypse?
Right? Like, playing hooky.
Play an arcade game. Imagine like an arcade game that Ellie has a poster of in her.
Yep.
She probably read about in some old video game magazine.
It was never.
Probably like seen the moves, and here they get to do it.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Riley gifts that to her.
Go again?
It is really cool, although.
It was so much fun to film. It was crazy, very full on. And those days were long and emotional and taxing, but honestly, they're so rewarding and so satisfying.
Yeah.
Really cool to just walk around and admire the work that people do.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Was, I think, one of the most amazing sets.
It's insane.
We had to do a Halloween store.
Yeah.
We had to do a Victoria's Secret store.
What?
Oh, man.
Testing out the waters and seeing how Ellie feels, and she has a little crush on her.
Yeah.
In that world, to have a crush on someone, it's still like a feeling that you can't just turn it off because the apocalypse is going on
Right.
and you don't think you have a future together. Like, it's something that's still...
Just there. Yeah.
It's often the case that the happiest moments are interrupted by the worst moments.
Yep, always.
There's this wonderful moment where Ellie realizes that Riley feels the same way about her that she feels about her.
Yep, just go for it.
They kiss.
Ellie gets to experience first love, first kiss, and then we snatch it away from her.
Man, the execution of that sequence was so good. Especially considering, like, you run through the whole mall and are chased by multiple zombies.
Quite certainly that they are both going to die or turn into a monster.
The way she wipes that off. God, Bella.
Where Ellie turns dark and violent
is when Riley
is quiet because Riley has experienced loss.
Yeah, no, he hasn't.
The Ellie we're seeing now has never experienced loss.
I didn't even think about that. That's that conversation.
But we don't quit on the time we have together.
Right.
And then cutting that with Joel when he tells Ellie, leave me, and he pushes her away.
Yep.
But that memory is ringing.
Yep, not gonna quit.
She's gonna fight to the bitter end because the person she loves the most now in this world is Joel.
Yep.
And she'll go to any length to save him.
Ellie is thinking about Riley, and she's thinking about the fact that Riley didn't quit on her.
I'm not gonna quit on Joel.
Riley didn't let Ellie kill herself, and Ellie's not walking away from Joel.
Yep. Oh man, dude, it's like those story moments are just they push everything forward so much. That was a fantastic episode, and it's like one of those, like, when you see how you take moments that define characters, you know, that in a game there's lots of gameplay in between, you know, the stringing of those stories isn't as, you know, involved character-wise as it is here. Not saying that the character development in the story, like, this is the game story, right? But the way that you're able to, you know, take certain moments where it's like, you know that this exists here, right? Like, Riley has that conversation with Ellie, right? Where it's like, we fight for every minute that we get, no matter how long it is. But, like, the tee-up stuff, right? Like, the stuff where it, like, almost kind of feels like a blow, where it's like, you didn't have a family, you know, you haven't lost anybody, but when then you step back, you look at through that guy's, right? Like, that's why Ellie is acting out, because she's never experienced loss, and now it's like, I just got, like, my crush feels the same way I do, and she was gonna leave, but now she's back, and she, even though she was gonna leave, now she's gonna stay, and then you snatch that away. Ellie doesn't know how to deal with that, you know what I mean? And you really see that, and it's like one of those things where, like, my brain just isn't thinking that way when I'm in the moment in the game. And, you know, the way that Riley is just like, you know, I don't think Riley mentions her family, and there's no talk about how Riley had a family that she lost and Ellie didn't. So when you start layering those things, you know, in there, all of a sudden, now when you see Ellie react that way, Riley react that way, it's like, right, like, Riley knows that, like, there's, you know, the way she says, like, there's more stuff over there you can go break. Riley understands that that's ultimately pointless, right? Like, no matter how many things you break, it's never gonna change what that outcome is. And, like, that moment just hits so much stronger. And then, like I said, it's that idea of you fight for every single moment you can get. One, like, it's this beautiful sentiment coming from someone who understands why you fight for every second, something that Ellie doesn't have yet, right? That Ellie has now. But, like, the other element, like, if you think about it, right, is if you take the quick way out, Ellie never finds out she's immune, right? The story doesn't exist without Riley being the one to go, I don't like option number one. Like, I think we should just ride this out. And yeah, is that gonna be something that's torturous for Ellie? You know, I don't remember if it's a conversation that she has with Joel down the backstretch of the game, or if it's a conversation she has in part 2. But, like, you know, I want to say there's somewhere where she, like, talks about the fact that, like, my moment never came, right? Like, I agreed to lose my mind with my best friend, and the minute that she becomes a monster, like, I have to put her down, right? Like, that's gonna happen to one of us, and then the other one's probably just gonna kill themselves. But, like, Ellie never gets there, right? Like, that moment doesn't exist for her, and it's something that will push her character, and is one of the driving forces of, like, if I could be the thing that saves people, like, now this whole fucking bullshit thing that happened to me, now it has a purpose if I have a purpose, right? It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not supposed to be here. Why am I here? Why was my best friend the person that I loved taken away from me, and I stayed, right? It's that survivor's guilt that Ellie's that Ellie's been dealing with. And it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm immune, and it's like, oh man, it's just like the genius of this show when you think of the layering of the story. And like, it's crazy to see a story interpreted and represented so spot on to the game, yet with the additions and the things that you add, like, it just opens up I feel like I talk about perspective every week, but like, the way some of these ads and things can just expand and open up the impact of some of these moments and what it means, like that moment where Ellie tries to save Sam, right? Like, just by rubbing her blood on his wound, and the disappointment in that not working, right? And the fear in her voice when she asks Joel, there can be, right? And he's like, it's more complicated than that, but like, like, this is going to work, right? Like that, and you tie it to that, and it's like, Ellie needs it to work. Ellie needs to have some kind of purpose, and ultimately, that's why she's on this journey. But at the same time, that other thing that she takes away from Riley is that you got to cling on to every second you can get, right? And it's one of the things that kind of creates, a bit of an at odds for her and Joel, because once she starts to trust Joel, she's spent enough time with Joel, where now, like, he's someone that she cares about, and vice versa, or at least she hopes, and obviously now we know it is true. But it's like, that's that thing, right, where it's like, her the whole time, it's like, I have this person now, I have to hold on to this for dear life, because I don't know how many minutes I'm gonna have. And last, everybody that has been with, like, it's just all of a sudden, all these like major moments and things, there's just a different level of context to it because of the small additions that they put in. It's like every episode you feel that, right? Where it's like, oh man, this little ad here, or hey, let's consolidate this down. Instead of having 25 zombies chase them, it can just be one. There's almost a scarier feel of that, right? Like, it's two of them and one zombie, and yet, like, one zombie can do all the damage that you need to do. Like, it's just the way that Druckmann and Mason are just doing everything. It's just unbelievable. And like, you look at just the individual moments, right? Like, there's not a ton for Pedro in this episode, but because he's conscious when Ellie is dressing the wound and trying to tend to him, you're able to have these moments that don't exist in the game, like grabbing her hand, like I told you to leave, I threw you off me, right? Like, Joel's kind of, again, like the context of building last episode, he's resigned to the fact that he's not good enough to take care of Ellie. That's why he wants to give her to Tommy, and it makes that moment that much more beautiful, because in the game, it's, I've never wanted you, I've always wanted to unload you onto my brother, because I don't want to lose another daughter type figure, where in the game, it's, no, I don't want to lose that daughter type figure, and I'm going to lose her because it'll be my fault. I need you to take her so that doesn't happen. So to see, like, now that they've gone to where they're at, like, that initial piece for Joel is to push her away. Like, I knew that this is what was gonna happen, and now you're gonna be set up to fail. Like, you gotta go back north. You gotta get back to Tommy. Tommy will get you where you need to go. And Ellie, on the complete counter, is in that you fight for every second you get. And when she comes back, the fact that she comes back and Joel, like, her and Joel, like, it's like, I'm not leaving. We'll figure this out, right? And we'll get through it. Like, it's just the beauty of bringing those two together, and Pedro's able to give you so much with so little. But that episode, right, it's one of the two episodes, like I said, that are going to define Ellie's character more than anything. Like, this episode and the next episode for Bella, like, that's the big lift for her character, man. Like, she's got to now become the protector. And it's the coolest part about the video game is, that this little girl is along for the ride, obviously, when you buy the game, right? Like, that's in the trailer, that's in what the story is when you get the game, but you don't know how things are going to play out, and you know that you're Joel. Like when you buy the game, you are Joel's character, and it very much feels like a game where it's like, this is Joel's story and this little girl comes into it, and then all of a sudden you get to this spot in the game and now you flip, where now from here through most of the last third of the game you're gonna play as Ellie, and this is the stretch where you start to realize that this is really Ellie's story. And like I just watching them adapt it and then get, like I said, these two moments, these two episodes, you know, are really the ones that solidify that. And this is where you solidify and you see that, like, oh, this is a character that can ride right next to Joel and can, you know, like when Joel is in peril, Ellie can take care of herself. Ellie can take care of Joel because Joel has taught her things. You know, she's learned a lot in this time with him. And I'm just so excited for Bella. And it's like in step one of this two-step part that really should take this character to a different place for the audience. I mean, absolutely nailed it, man. Like, she's so good. And again, it's one of these things where, you know, while you look at love in different ways in every episode, one of the other things that I think you look at a lot in this show, and specifically coming off last week, is that fear. And the way that Bella is just representing that on her face in different moments, and then to be able to flip it to the wonder. I mean, when those lights come on in the mall, you know, it's one of those, like, sometimes they're just acting moments that are so genuine. You know, you wonder, like, did the director set his actor up for that genuine response? Like, the one I always go back to is in The Martian. The first conversation at the end, the conversation like toward the end of the movie, that Damon's character has with, you know, his people once he's able to reestablish comms and things, and he gets super, super emotional. Ridley Scott, being the genius that he was, did all the filming with that group at the top of the movie. So, you know, Damon made bonds, you know, these are the people that you're working with. And then isolated, where it was just Damon. Like, Damon did all of the solo stuff after that. And then you get to the end of that stretch, and outside of your, like, director and the crew, you know, if you're really in it, it's the first time Damon hears voices. And he didn't tell Damon that they were going to be on the other side. Damon just figured he was going to act it, right? And then you cut it up to make it sound like there's a conversation going back and forth. And when their voices come on, the emotional response that you get from Damon is genuine. And very much the emotional awe and wonder in Ellie's eyes could have very much been genuine for Bella if the first time that you turn all those lights on, the first time that she gets to see that set, is that moment, right? Or is just Bella absolutely kicking ass and acting as she always does. But it's one of those things, like, that's specifically that Martian story always makes me wonder, like, sometimes when you get those really natural moments, like, yeah, did you that moment is one you could easily tee out. Like, the first time she walks in, she doesn't know, like, maybe they tell her, like, they're gonna turn the lights on, but she hasn't seen it. And the seeing how you pull off the mall in and of itself, like, for us, you go, dude, like, wow, you know. And I mean, Bella's performance all the way through this episode is just so strong, you know, where, like, you can tell, you know, it's like we've all been in that place, right, where it's like when you're in high school and you start to develop a crush for a friend, and you're like, I don't, like, we're so tight, but, like, I think there's this next step that could be there, and trying to figure out how to wade those waters. And it's one of these where we're picking up the story where we haven't seen anything with Ellie and Riley before, and now Riley's just suddenly shown up, and it's like you can see the moments. There's one or two moments in there where Ellie, like, I almost thought they were gonna switch it up, and it's like the kiss wasn't gonna happen with the music, right? Like, it almost felt like Ellie might just pull that move right away, and then you find out the things that she finds out, the way that she responds, and then, I mean, like, it's like you watched an entire high school relationship. And I'm sure some of you might be younger, maybe you're in high school, and you're like, what do you need? Trust me, when you get older, you'll look back, and everything in high school, it feels like it's the end all be all, man. But you get older and you look back, and, like, you know, it's very much like one of these, like, you'll see lots of people, they'll date, and then, you know, one bad fight, two bad fights, they'll break up, but then they'll get right back together. So you get to live all that in one moment, right? It's like Ellie's just like, F it, I'm done. I'm not going to let myself get hurt because you're leaving. So, like, screw you, go leave. storm out because I'm angry, and then I can't, like, especially in this world, and just the way Bella handled all that stuff, I thought was just beautiful right up until the very end in this episode. And the exact same goes for Storm Reid. And it's one of those, like, the minute I heard that Storm Reid was going to play Riley, I was like, that is genius casting. And it's because of all the things that Craig Mazin said, man. Like, Bella, we've known Bella's a freaking powerhouse since she was like 8, 9, 10, whatever, however old she was when she was on Thrones, right? Like, you had this little girl just owning these grown-ass men who live in this, like, medieval world. Like, you know what that talent level is, and you need somebody, like Mazin said, that's going to be able to match that, but also be able to be someone that you could believe could best Ellie as a character. And Reid is definitely the talent, like, in that age range, in that pocket. Like, the perfect casting for that. Like, if I'm terrible at fan casting, right? Like, I would have never cast Bella. The minute I heard Bella's name drop, I was like, yeah. Like, it's so funny to me that there's, like, a collection of people that were so anti Bella Ramsey because she didn't look like Ellie. And, like, I don't know, like, for me, that just tells you who is and isn't a real video game fan. And, like, a real fan of the story. Maybe you're a video gamer and maybe you really like the video game, but, like, you're not a true fan of the story, because the minute that they said Bella Ramsey, I was like, oh, that bitch gonna slap as Ellie. And, like, it's one of those things, like, you heard Mazin, you heard, like, she had the Ellie-ness immediately. I'm like, yeah, man, like, you could see it. Like, you look at, I only had Lady Mormont to go off of, but I was like, if that little girl could do that, like, she's a Spitfire in a different way in that, like, she could totally do this. And Riley, like, Storm Reid is the person, like, I would have been like, that, if I was doing fan casting, that probably would have been my first choice or first thought, specifically after seeing Missing so recently. Like, she is an actor who, very much like Bella, from a very young age, just, like, I know that Wrinkle in Time, like, wasn't a super beloved movie, but that movie rocked me because I was so attached to that little girl's freaking performance, man. And, like, everything that I've seen Storm Reid do, like, that's what she brings to her work. And yeah, it's just the perfect casting. And, like, it's one of those, you know, you hear both of them talking so fondly of each other and of getting to work together. Like, you could see both from, like, a talent level and a respect level, and just from, like, an age range, like, what we got, I'm not surprised that they bonded the way that they bonded. And it's one of those where it's like, you needed that type of chemistry, because not necessarily like in the course of a 55-minute episode, you know, it isn't, I don't know, like, but like when you're working together for multiple days, right? Like, you need to be able to keep that energy there for that 55 minutes. And, like, you could just tell that these two got along so well. And like, clearly, like, it was one of those, like I said, respect, but also just, like, you could tell that they vibe with each other. And the if you're not convinced of it, that dance sequence, man, was just like everything you needed. Like, it just kind of encapsulates, and it's the moment in the game too that kind of encapsulates those two characters. And for me, that's the moment that really encapsulates, like, the bond that Bella and Storm had while filming all of this, right? Like, that feels like that real representative moment of, like, these two people being, like, on the same level. And then, like I said, man, it's just like the little tweaks and things you do, like merging the Radio Shack electric, you know, like electronic store with the Halloween store to get the dancing and everything, to get, like, so smart, because that scene suddenly becomes so much more enjoyable because you see the two of them dancing in these freaking goofy ass masks, but it also enhances the moment of the kiss where it's like Ellie takes the mask off and, like, Storm's response is it's like, what's wrong? And, like, man, like, they crushed this episode, man. Like, it was everything that I was hoping for. Like I said, I had two real big expectation, like, episodes for me, and it's not like next week would be the easy one to pick, be like, oh man, I can't wait till we get here, because, like, that's gonna be some hardcore stuff for Bella. But, like, for me, it was that Sam and Henry story, and then this one, because from a character perspective, those two stories in particular have an unbelievable amount of impact on Ellie, and then the Sam and Henry story has a big impact on Joel. You could argue that the Storm Reid, the Riley story, because it impacts Ellie, has an impact on Joel. Right? Like Joel's still alive because Ellie ain't gonna let him die. But like this was the other episode that I was waiting for, and I mean, it was perfection. They did everything, like literally everything that I was hoping they would do. They did, outside of the two games that they play, right? Where it's like you throw bricks through the car, and no water guns. I would have loved to have seen a little water gun fight. It's one of my favorite stretches in the game because you actually do get to shoot the water gun, and it's an old school super soaker. Like, it just brings back so many nostalgia memories for me. But I was glad they mentioned it, right? Where Ellie was like, is it like a water gun? And Riley's like, it's better than that. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, the two of you, like Ellie mentions like how she almost got her hands on them, and then like Riley talks about how hard it was to get them. And I get it, man. When the Super Soaker came out, that was like, and my parents were like not big on gun type things. Like, when it came to like video games and stuff, once I was able to have my own money and buy my own games, I was able to get a lot more violent games than what my parents would buy me. It was a lot of sports games, Crash Bandicoot. When I was really little, Mario Brothers and stuff like that. Like, they've never been fans of guns, and I get it. I mean, when I was a kid, there was a family who had a gun, and it was locked up. But the son and one of his friends took it out. They were playing around, gun went off, killed the kid. I believe he played basketball for my dad. So like, I get it, but man, like there is something about the Super Soaker where it's like, oh man, like it's like you the very first water pistol I would ever had in my life. I'm sure this probably goes for most people. Clear plastic, colored, right? So I think mine was probably either blue or green. Those would have been the two colors I would have gravitated towards. Orange would have been like the other one. Have a very specific smell and a very specific taste. If you were pulling the bottom thing out with your teeth, which is how I would always do it, and then you fill it up, and there it is. Like, you have that, and it's like and you just get one little, you just kind of hit one shot quick, and the air pump, you can shoot a stream for like a prolonged period of time. Oh man, like, so getting to play that stretch of the game is one of my favorite moments. But I'm glad they referenced, right? At least made a reference that like Ellie loves her some water guns. So I'm okay that that's not there. But outside of that, I mean, they literally got down everything to the point where you're able to focus in on that story almost without ever cutting back, which is kind of what I figured they were going to do. And it allows you to not have to do the other end of that, right? Like I said, that's like a 90-minute run in gameplay, give or take, maybe 2 hours. Because you're doing the other stuff where you're in the present day mall in Colorado, and Ellie's looking for medical supplies, right? Like, I loved that they put that like the freaking misdirect. The reason I thought that they were going to do the Colorado Mall was because of the freaking zombie in the doll store. Because that's what that you go to like the pharmacy, and the pharmacy door is locked, and you find a note that says like they locked up this one guy in this other store down the other way. Here's the combo. And like, Ellie goes in there and he's dead, and that's how you get the key, so you can find out that the med kit in there is empty. And then you go and you find that there's a helicopter that crashed, and you kind of go in there. That's not a fun little story. Things that happen to the people on the helicopter were not great. The reason it crashed is because one of their members turns. We didn't get any kind of notes or nods to Warren, but totally again, something that doesn't detract at all. That would have just been like a cool little Easter egg moment, kind of like Ish. But yeah, like, to take that element out, because that would, like, if this was an hour and 20-minute episode rather than 55, you probably could have done all of that. But to go, you know what? No, do it the way it is in the game. We'll jump right to the garage, and then instead of telling you how Ellie got from there to there, like, we'll just show you, right? Like, you can see, like, there's a path and a trail. But we can merge some of the stuff from that over here so that you do get all of it, right? Like, you get that bit, like, oh man, there's the doll. I know exactly what that's like. And even when they first come in and like Ellie looks is like, oh man, the water on the ground, and they say something about electrocution, like I was saying. There's a stretch in the Colorado where you need to get the power on in order to get through a gate in order to get to that friggin' helicopter, because the mall in Colorado is a former like QZ zone, kind of similar to like the library that we had talked about when you're in Pittsburgh. And in order to get to where this helicopter crashed, like you need this gate that's locked to come unlocked, and you fight a bunch of zombies in that stretch. But there's all this water, and once you turn the power on, like 3 or 4 of them come running at you, and a power line falls down and electrocutes the water. So like even just making a reference to like a puddle splash and I don't want to be electrocuted, I was like, I totally just, and like the look and vibe of that little kind of concrete area before you get into the actual mall itself, reminiscent of that. Like they really nailed everything here, so it should come as no surprise to anybody. 5 out of 5 on the adaptation, and this is a 5 out of 5 episode for me, man. I mean, like I can see a lot of people being like, "See, man, like what, like, huh?" Like it's a different kind of an emotional, impactful episode than episode 3 or the Sam and Henry episode. But like for me, I think it deserves the 5 because it's such an important story for Ellie, and it's just represented so perfectly here. Like like I said, I had super high expectations for this episode, and it nailed every expectation that I had in it. Like right up to the very end, where it's like you even enhanced moments that I didn't think would need enhancing. So the third time, well, I guess only the second time, because I don't think I gave a 5 out of 5 for the Frank Bell episode, because technically, from an adaptation standpoint, it's a lot different. But it does accomplish the same things, which is why I gave it 4.5. But much like the Sam and Henry episode, this one hit, like, you know, it might not have broken me down. I think if they would have shown, you know, Ellie having to kill Riley, I would have. And I'm kind of glad. Like, thank you, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, for not showing me that on camera. Because I didn't need to live that one. We can all infer what happens to Riley. And it's kind of nice to give Ellie that story without the sadness, right? Another example of like the pure kind of innocent love that you can have in this world that does get, you know, disrupted by what the world is. But yeah, I mean, it nailed, and, you know, I mean, it hits. And like I said, it really, this and the next episode are really going to solidify a lot of things for Ellie and a lot of things for Bella, I think, as an actor. Like the things that she's going to have to handle in the next episode, I think you're going to tell me if I'm going to be able to buy part 2 being season 2. And it's not because of Bella's talent level, but it's like literally Ellie looks completely different come part. Now you cut Bella's hair super short. You know, you could maybe accomplish that feel, but it's one of those, like, there's definitely a maturing for Ellie's character that happens because physically of aging. Like she's a more grown-up individual. So depending on how things go next episode, you could walk out of that episode, if you've played part 2, going, nah, F it. Bella could do everything right now, and I'll buy it. Like, I'll buy it, and that's that scenario where it's like, if we only get 2 seasons of this show, I'll be super happy, because you did perfect adaptations of 2 of the greatest video games of all time. How could I ask for more? I'm greedy. I would like a little bit more, but I'm going 5 out of 5. Adaptation, execution, everything about this one for me was exactly what I wanted it to be. It's exactly what it needed to be for Ellie, and it's one of these, like, I hope people who are non-gamers don't come at this episode in a similar manner or fashion as people did with episode 3. Because I think a lot of people could try to pull that same bullshit excuse of, man, filler episode just to do a gay love story. I can already see that shit on Twitter, and it's so infuriating. And anybody that thinks that this is a filler episode just doesn't get it, man. Like, this is one of the most important moments for Ellie's character, and it's so well represented on screen. I think it's a pitch perfect episode. Question though, so what are you guys thinking? I am interested, right? Like, are you in that, this is another one of them filler camps, so we can do some representation mumbo jumbo? Do you fall into that terrible camp? Please tell me. Please tell me that you don't. Because I'd much rather have positive and fun conversations here and get to hear, like I have heard from those other episodes, how much this one hit for you. Where like, if you played the game, were you ecstatic? Did it emotionally connect and resonate the way you were hoping that this stretch of the game adaptation would? If you didn't play the game, what did you think of this episode? Like, it's one of those, I don't know, like I can see the comparisons starting, and it's like, you go back, you look at episode 3, people who say it's filler, it's like, but you don't understand. You have to see Bill at a point where he hates humanity and is glad that it's just him in this town, and then see what that relationship does to change him, because that note that he leaves Joel is so important to pushing that character the next thing that he needs to do as a character, right? It's not just about Joel and Ellie getting a car or a truck. It's what that story represents to Bill and changes him as a character that then can push our character forward. And that's the same thing that happens here. Now, the twist is that one of your main characters is at least involved in this story, but it's the same thing, right? Where you could look and be like, man, you just cold hard stop the story to go back in time and tell us this other thing. It's like, but if that's the way you're feeling, like, how do you, like, are you not seeing that, like, you need that story with Riley to understand how Ellie will fight for every single second she can get with the person that she loves. And it's like something, like I said, like it adapts so much better and rings even stronger in the show than it does in the game. So, you know, whether you're a gamer or not, how did that stuff work for you? Do you think that this is an important episode for Ellie? Is this something that pushes the character forward for you? Like I said, you know, I've had a lot of you guys, you know, mention in the comments that, like, you like what I bring to it as a gamer, because I have that perspective, and you can kind of see where it's like maybe something that does look like filler. Oh wow, you know, if I know everything that's coming, then maybe, you know, and hopefully I'm giving that for you if you're not in that camp. But anything you guys got, genuinely, right? Like, as long as there's no hate going on in the comment section, good, bad, indifferent, on HBO, The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 7, Left Behind. Put it down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions, you want to be here next week as we watch the penultimate episode, man. Things are going to get wild. What's coming? I mean, that trailer didn't really hype how intense this episode is gonna be. So if you want to be here to experience that intensity with me, you just dig my general vibe, you like the commentary or things that I think of when I'm talking, like, either story or you know, craft, you just want to show a little love and support, well, hey, come join C-Maniac Nation. Super easy, and you can do all those things simply by jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts so you can know when I'm dropping new things. And until next time, for the C-Mans, Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, you guys are still here. You snuck up on me. You must be looking for more of this guy. Well, I got 2 video options for you, man. Right up here and right over here. And if you want all those C-Man goodies, well, hey, come join the squad right on over there, and I'll catch you on the next one.